welcome, sir. I hope you have a very wonderful night.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and you too.
Very fine, and your family?
Fine, thank God.
Well, this is GreaterWorks. We welcome our viewers from our participants from all over the world. This is GreaterWorks, and like we said, GreaterWorks is actually an easy-dial conferencing platform courtesy of CW Communications Limited. If I just like to explain what GreaterWorks is, it's an engagement platform for Christian influencers, thought leaders, and strategic thinkers who are passionate about expressing themselves. And it's going to be a 13-week series. Last week we kicked off with COVID-19 and the implication for the church. So this week, that was going to be the second installment. We're moving forward a little bit. And the topic of our discussion today is driving technology change in the church, intention versus intuition. And we have the honor of having Reverend Tayo Okunlola as my guest speaker today. Let me just quickly introduce him. He's a fellow of leadership for environment and development, International UK. He has a master's degree in theology from Nigerian Baptist Theological Seminary, Ogbomoso. He has a master's degree in environmental technology and pollution management, and he's also from the University of Lagos. He also has a bachelor's degree in Zoology from University of Ilorin. He's currently the outreach minister at Christ Baptist Church, Gbagada. So without much ado, I'd like to welcome Reverend Tayo Okunlola to the GreaterWorks series.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. We also appreciate the fact that you actually accepted our invitation. We feel very honored. Without talking too much, I'd just like us to, by way of introducing the topic, technology has become it has affected everything we do, the way we live. By the way, my name is Bayini Ifale. So I'm the anchor. I'm going to be asking Reverend Tayo Okunlola some questions, and so our participant, I just want you to feel at home. There will be a time when you're going to ask your questions. We're going to give you some time to ask your questions. So I just like just to give this background to say that technology, like they say, is actually an enabler. And over the years, since the 1990s or thereabout, when internet became almost all over the place. I mean, Nigeria was a little bit late in the adoption. It has affected the way we live, the way we work, the way we eat, from family to organization and to even government. Now, coming to the church, it's are we saying technology, have we really adopted technology as a way of life, or as a way of actually enabling what we do, propagating the gospel of Jesus Christ? Or have we been on the back foot? As in, we just have to do it because it's nice to have. Now, if you visit many congregations, you see television screens all over the place, probably because the pastor may not be able to reach this congregation. And so today, we're digging deep a little bit to now begin to say, have we been intentional, or have we been on the back foot, so to speak? So, Reverend Tayo Okunlola, I'd just like to can you just give us a general overview, a general impression of how the church has fared over the years, knowing the importance and the critical imperative of technology in driving the gospel? I want you to give us a general overview, sir.
Thank you very much once again for this privilege that you have given to me to be on this platform. I like to say that over the years, the church had not really embraced technology as a means of achieving our mission. In the past, we have had church leaders who make statements that appears like technology is a device of the devil. It's not something that the church should use. We have had instances in the past where church leaders forbid their members from using anything in the line of technology. But over the years, we have seen that we have really not embraced technology the way we should as a means of advancing the work of the church. Now, this current COVID-19 has also shown to us the level of adoption, the level of our preparedness as churches in embracing technology in the way that we are supposed to embrace technology for the advancement of the church, of the work of the church. Now, we also see that in this time, we see a few churches who have embraced technology and they are actually using it well to advance the gospel. But a larger percentage of the church are really at the backdrop of this development. So the implication of all of this is the fact that we are not doing well, and we really can do much more than what we are currently doing. Now, if you put the church into segments, you say Orthodox churches, Pentecostal churches, we see churches have adopted technology much more than the Orthodox churches. So we really can do a lot more than what we are currently doing now. Thank you.
So that's going to lead me to another question, which is actually I'm going to take some bits and pieces of what you're saying, and actually perform your question. Now, in Isaiah chapter 2, Scripture says that it shall come to pass in the last days, where he said, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be lifted and exalted above all the mountains. And so the implication of that is that the church should be at the forefront of driving change, whether technology, political, social, economic, and all that. Does that mean that the church of the church of Jesus Christ is more or less playing catch up?
Yeah, I would say that the church is supposed to be at the forefront of leading change in every sphere of life, whether it is education, whether it is culture, whether it is family. The church is supposed to be at the front leading. The church is catching up in a number of areas where we're supposed to actually be leading change. And my advice or my position is that the church needs to take its rightful position in leading change in every sphere of human endeavor. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Now, I want us to begin to narrow down a little bit or double down on technology adoption in churches. And now, like you rightly mentioned when you started, when you opened your statement, the opening statement you gave was that the church is supposed to actually should be driving technology and what have you changes. But COVID-19 has actually exposed that we have a chink in our armor. In other words, that perhaps we're not even ready. So what can you say to that? Because a lot of churches, for example, have not opened since COVID-19. They've not connected with their members, and so there is no communication, no email, no form of communication at all. So what would happen is like you go into the river and you fish, you caught some fish, then after some time you put them back into the sea. So what are your opinion on this, sir? Especially when you also I would say it was a strategic segmentation. You divided the churches into two. Orthodox churches and also Pentecostal churches, where you say that there's some level of adoption from the Pentecostal side, but probably little or no adoption on the side of the what you call Orthodox churches. Can you give us what are your thoughts around this?
Well, I would say that some churches have not been meeting since this COVID-19 meeting. I mean, all churches are not meeting physically, but some churches are connecting with their members, while a whole lot of churches are not able to connect with their members. And I will say that this is the reality of what is happening on this side, I mean, around us. So it's an issue of preparedness, is an issue of intentionality. Before now, because churches and church leaders have not adopted technology, now it is difficult to connect with their church members. So I will say that that is what is happening. But more importantly, I would say that it is important for church leaders to be able to reach out to their members, and this will happen at different levels. So in that sense, every church is supposed to be able to identify the demography of their people and then be able to reach them at different levels. For instance, if you take a church, there are people that will to use any kind of facility that you provide. There are some people that you may only be able to reach them through WhatsApp. There may be some people that you only can reach them through SMS. There are some people that you may not even be able to reach at all, depending on the area. I mean, the location where the church is situated. So, wisdom demands that church leaders should devise means of reaching their people at different levels.
Let me just ask another question, which is actually would you develop in line with what you were talking about, as in adoption, segmentation of members into those who can use WhatsApp, depending on the network. You just have to reach them wherever they are. But that said, I just also want to ask, one study shows that the age of the congregant or the age of the members of the church, of the ministry, actually affect technology adoption. And so, in other words, the younger the congregant or the members of the church, the more likely the ministry is going to adopt technology as a means of driving the operation of the gospel. And on the other hand, which is the other side, is when the members are older. If, for example, the average member of a church is about 50-55, there's a tendency they may be opposed to adopting technology. What are your thoughts around this, sir?
Well, I agree absolutely that the younger the congregants are, the easier for them to adopt technology. And we also can see all around us that is happening. The younger generation churches and the churches that are led by younger pastors, they are able to adopt technology easier than those who are older. And that is true in our environment, and statistics also shows that. However, I like to say that beyond the age of either the leader of the church or the congregation, more important is the vision of the pastor or the vision of the leadership in driving change, in driving technology adoption. Because what you don't have vision for, you won't really pursue. So age is important, age is critical, but more important is the vision and the leadership of the church in driving technology adoption for driving the mission of the church. That's my perspective on that.
Fantastic, sir. Ruben, there's also, I'll just latch onto that question and also ask another question, which is very similar. There's also a study, there's a research that also shows or proves or that shows that the age of the leader of the church or the ministry also affects technology adoption. That is, the older the lead pastor, or what you call overseer or superintendent, whatever nomenclature or appellation will give to them, that the age tends to also affect. The older they are, the more difficult it is to adopt technology. And that's very clear. In our climb, you will realize that many of the young generation, many of the what I say, technology savvy ministries, actually led by pastors who are probably in their maybe late 30s, mid 40s, and maybe about 50 maximum. And the churches that are late to join the party, they are probably, the pastors are in their 60s, 70s, So what do you say to this, sir?
Well, just like I said before, it is true that the age of pastors or the church leader or the overseer, whichever name we call the leader, is critical in adopting technology faster. The younger pastors, the young generation pastors are able to adopt technology better because that's the world in which they also live. So it's easier for them to adopt technology compared to older pastors, people who are already in their late 60s and on like that. That is true in our climate. But like I said before, more important is the vision, because to my mind, the vision of a pastor in leading the church is going to drive a lot of things, it's going to affect a lot of things. Let me give you an instance. An Orthodox pastor, most of the time, does not see beyond his immediate congregation. He believes that he's called to a people and his job is to that small group of people that is called to. Small in this case may also be relevant. The small may be 200 people, it may be 500 people, it may be 700 people, but most of the time, it doesn't see beyond the 700 people. But the Pentecostal pastors, for instance, they believe that they are called to minister to a group of people, but they see the entire world as their parish. So in that sense, that will determine, it will affect their vision. It will affect the way they reach out to people. Take for instance, there was an Instagram live program about a few weeks ago. And on Instagram alone, there are over 11,000 people who hook onto that program. Now, you possibly may not be able to gather 11,000 people within a small church congregation without that technology option. So the point I'm making is that the age is important, but more important is actually the vision and the leadership of the pastor.
Fantastic, sir. But like, let me just so now I want us to expand that thought. You said that there was somebody held like a live event on Instagram and was able to pull about 11,000 people. So what my question around that will be, does that mean that we might have the emergence of cyber pastors that's in the wake of COVID-19, where probably they may not really have a physical standalone brick and mortar church, but they will just be totally cyber. Can that be like the offshoot of COVID-19?
Well, in some other clients, before now, there are churches that have online pastors. Before now, I know a number of churches that have online pastors and they minister to people online. But the way God created man, we are made to relate. We are made to share fellowship together. So I wouldn't really know if a totally online church is something that we should pursue. I believe that online pastors or a cyberspace church will exist, but it will be a channel, a conduit for gathering people in-house. A lot of activities may go on online and the church can run perfectly online, but it will create an opportunity for physical meeting at some point. So that is a possibility, but an outright online church I don't know how that will operate, but it's a possibility. But I believe that it should be a conduit for an ingathering at some point in the future.
I want to talk about, because we've talked about church leadership, the age of the leader, and also the age of the congregant. Now, if you roll that into one, we can talk about the culture of church. When you were in responding to one of our questions, you said that in the past we've heard church leaders who are probably anti-technology. As a matter of fact, they call it they call television the devil's box. And so many members in those era threw away their television box. Now, if you grew up in that ministry, and we know definitely sometimes we're being influenced by our leaders, and if you grew up in that kind of ministry and you have that kind of thought, definitely that's going to really form and shape your paradigm. Having said this, majority of the people who probably are now Pentecostal churches were in those kind of ministries. Now, and we know definitely there's a way that you don't really change some of the things you believe over time. And so the culture of the church, whether even in Pentecostal, I'm talking about even Pentecostal churches. Now, in trying to adopt technology, don't you think that there could be some cultural, quote unquote, apathy, cultural opposition when they're saying, okay, let's go this way? Oh, they're saying, no, it's not time. No, we're not doing that. I'll give you a typical example. I know some ministry where they print flyers about 5,000, 10,000 copies, and we just discover that why should we be putting flyers? When you look at the what I call the ROI, when you measure the number of people who come to that kind of program, you print about 10,000 flyers, and just about maybe about 15 people come for that kind of. It's almost like a waste. Where you can actually use social media to actually promote and do some campaign around the event. So I'm saying that, don't you think that some things that become formed and also forged our paradigm over the years can become like a cultural barrier to adoption of technology, even within the Pentecostal environment?
Yeah, that's very critical. Culture is a major factor in any organization, whether church or corporate system. Culture drives things. And the culture of a place determines how people react to things. It determines how they treat their customers. It determines, in fact, it shows in their performance drive. So the real issue is that culture is critical. In a place where excellence is a culture, for instance, I'm associated with a church where excellence is both a culture and a value for them. And you will hear them say all the time, excellence honors God, it inspires people. And that drives everything that they do. So my thinking is that church leaders need to lead a culture that allows for change and for innovation. Even culture itself is dynamic. The way culture operates is dynamic. So I will say that church leaders need to allow cultures, they need to lead a culture that allows for change, that allows for innovation. For instance, a culture where all their emphasis is that status quo must remain. In such a system, there is hardly any innovation that can take place. So my counsel to church leaders will be that they should lead a culture that is flexible within the framework of what our Christian value accepts. Lead a culture that breeds innovation, that breeds change in a way that we can accommodate things that can advance the work of the church. Now, having said that, no matter what innovation comes, there is one thing that cannot change, and that is the message of the gospel. The gospel cannot change. The gospel cannot be improved upon. The gospel we can't innovate around the gospel. That message remains the same. But when it comes to method, how we dispense the gospel, how we declare the gospel, that can, in fact, that will change 1,000 times more. So I will say that the message of the gospel must not change, but the methods by which we advance the gospel, we must keep changing, we must keep innovating, and we must keep allowing change that we enable us to dispense the gospel within the context in which we live. That's my perception about the issue of culture.
Thank you very much, sir. We won't stop talking around COVID-19 because it's become like a historic event that has disrupted our lives and also begin to, shape maybe our future and our destiny. But that said, I also like to talking about technology adoption within ministries and so our churches. Nigeria, I want us to narrow down to Nigeria. Nigeria is predominantly a poor nation. About 87% of Nigerians live below the poverty level. And it might sound very simple. That's according to statistics. And so the point is, the majority of them, we have probably about 46% being Christians. The implication of that is many of them are in these Pentecostal / Orthodox churches. Adopting technology might be a little bit difficult. What I mean by that is to connect, because people now use Zoom, they use maybe like a platform like even Easy now, they use WebEx, and all that to connect. WhatsApp, on a platform like that where you could. But what about the issue of data? Many of them, for example, have not earned a decent living in the last how many months? 6 weeks or so. Coming down to COVID-19. How do we get it? How can the church make this available, make connection or connectivity accessible in the face of current economic disadvantage? While we wait for Reverend Okunlola, basically, I just want us to know one of the talking points is that one of the barriers of technology adoption in a country like Nigeria is poverty. And if you remember, stats tells us that about 87%. As a matter of fact, that's a research done by the Gatekeeper Summit. That's a non-profit organization, of the Melinda Bill Gates. And so they actually said about 87% of Nigerians are actually poor. And so the implication for churches in Nigeria is that a lot of Christians are also poor. That's what it means. And so adopting technology may be like a bit difficult. In the last 6 weeks or thereabout, many of them they can't buy data, they do not earn salaries. So some of them they're not sure of the next meal. And so it's pretty difficult to adopt technology in all these ministries. And some of them, we're already disadvantaged. So when we say technology adoption, the issue is many of them don't have the means and the gadgets. They don't even have a gadget. Some of them don't even have a mobile phone. They don't have smartphones. They don't have, and so that's become like a big challenge and a bit difficult. So that's what we're talking around. And if you have any thoughts, you can in the meantime you can actually share your thoughts.
I don't know what's happening with my camera.
Okay. No, continue. Just continue, sir. We're managing that. You can continue, sir.
All right. The first thing I was about to say is the fact that every church needs to understand and know the demography of their people. By that, you are able to put people in broad categories. There are people within the church that will be able to use any form of technology that you deploy. There are some that they will be able to only use WhatsApp, for instance. There are some that don't even have smartphone at all, not to talk of being able to use any social media or something. So it's important to know the demography of the people. When you do, it helps you to be able to minister to them at their different levels. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that church need to be able to provide multiple channels of reaching people. And that is why, for instance, a church will broadcast through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and as many platforms as possible, so that people can connect at their different levels. There are members of the church who are not on any social media, but they will be able to connect through YouTube. So the point is, we must be able to create multiple channels for people to connect. And in that sense, for people who don't have means of using a smartphone, even through WhatsApp, through text messages, at their level, we can connect with them. So the point is, understand demography and create multiple channels by which people can connect to the church. The third thing is the fact that maybe post COVID, the church needs to invest in training and teaching to move people from where they are now to the new normal. Because the truth of the matter is that the world is shifting. Things have changed already. We are not going to go back to the way things used to be. So we need to be able to lead people from where they are now to where they ought to be. But we need to understand that also will take some time. So demography, creating of multiple channels, and investing in training and teaching that can move people from where they are to where they ought to be. Because people will always gravitate in the direction of the things that make meaning to them. And that's what the church leaders need to be able to do, to shift people's mindset towards the new normal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And that's another question. And you pointedly spoke on demography. Now, the millennial is this very critical and vital demographic. About 25% of the world population are millennials. There's about 1.8 billion of them. Now, as we speak now, majority of them don't like the way church is run. When I say church is run, there are messages to exactly not gelling, it's not in sync with what they believe, there are channels and all that. Add to that is that research has proven that one of the ways to reach millennia is through social media, Instagram particularly, not maybe Facebook and all that. But research has also shown that the church all over the world, not just Nigeria, has not been very strategic in its use of internet and social media. In other words, yes, we are on the internet, we're on social media platform, but we're not using it effectively. And to some extent, and that's why that's one of the reasons we're actually losing our whole grip on the millennials. Many of them are not coming to church because they don't find church interesting. What can you say to that, sir?
Well, that's very true. The millennials are a unique breed, and we need to understand that Jesus died for everybody, and we must be able to reach every category of people, every age bracket. We must be able to reach them with the gospel. Now, contrary to what a lot of people believe, that millennials, they are not interested in the gospel, they just want things that are sophisticated and all of that. That is not completely true, and research also proves that. In fact, there's this George Banner report that says that 80% of millennials actually are looking for things that can enhance their spiritual development. And 71% of them believes that church has something that can add value to them in enhancing their spiritual development and getting them to know more about God. So 3 things I will say that the church needs to do to attract them and also to get them committed in the work of the church. Number 1 is the fact that the church needs to advance a unique message. The unique message of the church is the gospel. That is what the church has that no other corporation has. So we must, number 1, advance the unique message of the church to enhancing spiritual development and making this millennia find God. That's the first thing. In other words, I'm saying that we must have a unique content. Content is critical in driving the millennium, in bringing them to the work of the church. And that is very, very important. They are interested in practical theology. By that, I mean that they want to know what does the scripture say about certain tough issues that they are going through. How does the Bible apply to their individual lives? Those are the things that bother millennials, and the church must be able to offer that. And that's the first. And that's the first thing. The second thing is that we need to be able to leverage social media correctly. And I like to emphasize the use of it correctly. The use of technology correctly is very important to the millennials, because for them, technology is impressive when it is used correctly. Technology is impressive when it enhances their ability to engage. Technology is impressive when it is relevant to them. So we must be able to use it correctly. For instance, if you are using hashtag and you are not using it correctly, it will turn millennials off. If, for instance, you are beaming a song on the screen and we have almost finished singing the song, before the lyrics of the song is showing up, it means you are not using it correctly. In this sense, excellence is critical for them. So number one, we must advance the unique message of the gospel of the church. Number two, we must leverage social media correctly, and we need to use it on all platforms, create multiple channels. The third thing is that we need to mobilize them into a community, create a community for them around their areas of interest. In that way, it will engender further engagement in a manner that you also can bring them into the church apart from the online community where they belong. So when we do this, we'll be able to attract them and we'll be able to engage them in the work of the church. These are my thoughts around how we can engage the millennials.
Thank you very much. We're so delighted. Thank you for your responses. For our viewers, we just want to inform you that we are live on YouTube. And for as many participants who are there, if you have any question, can you just raise your hand, and so that we can just take questions for Reverend Tayo Okunlola. If you have any question out there, can you just raise your hand? I would like to so that you can also maybe there are thoughts there are thoughts in your mind you want to share. Can you just signify by raising your hand? Oh, who's there? Okay. Ogenaro. Ogenaro, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Ogenaro.
Ogenaro, where are you coming from? Where are you based? Can you just introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, Nigerian Baptist Church.
Okay.
Okay,
Fantastic, sir.
Yes, I'm having listened to the talks by the moderator. I think it's very necessary, just like what you said, that the church needs to key into most of these platforms for us to move ahead. But take for instance now, if the technological departments, they are really trying to do their best to move this whole thing forward, and the church keeps seeing a way of dragging things behind, or should I say the leaders in the church, and they do also want to key into this understanding of which we want to have a technical driven church. Now, how do we approach that? Because you won't want to back out at the same time, or you still want to give in your best. So how then do we have to do it in such a way that the church doesn't discourage our efforts, and at the same time we still need to move ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Ogunero. Reverend Okunlola will respond to your question now. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for that question. It's an important question, and it's something that is very common in most systems. Now, what I would like to say is that the situation we have found ourselves is a situation whereby we need to shift and we need to move from where we are in the direction of the current reality. Now, it's important that we understand that it's going to take time, and the time it will take will differ from one system to the other in the light of a number of things that we have said before. But for the team that is trying to drive change, and particularly when it's not coming from the leadership, leadership is critical in driving this kind of change. But what you need to do is to be able to create a sense of urgency. By that, I mean that you need to be able to make things plain in a way that the leadership will understand. That is very important. And when you are able to create that sense of urgency in a way that the leadership will understand, it may take time, but you need to continue to do it. You need to continue to do it. So you create a sense of urgency by making data, by making statistics show what you are trying to say. Even within your own church community, you may be able to present a case that shows how you are not able to reach your people. Over time, the leaders will get to understand and they will be able to adopt it. You know that change, we all like change, but we don't usually like to change. That's usually the issue. So it takes time and you need to continue to press it. Now, having said that, it's important that you don't lose the small wins that you are already having. Maybe, for instance, you are currently able to broadcast on Facebook. Don't lose that. Continue to do that well. Over time, the result of that will also lay credence to what you are trying to tell the leaders. Now, the other thing you may need to do is also to be able to build a small group of people who buy into the idea of what you are trying to do. So when you build small team, that small team will influence another team, and over time, it will get to the leadership, and the leadership will be able to buy into what you are trying to do. So 2 or 3 things I have said. Number one is that you need to continue what you are doing, continue to build on your small win. Number 2, continue to create a sense of urgency to the leadership. Use every means to create that sense of urgency, creating a mandate for change. Number 3 is the fact that you need to be able to also influence more people to buy into that idea, and over time, the leadership will be able to shift. But I agree with you absolutely. Leadership is critical in leading change and in embracing this technology. We envisage it to work. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other participant who wants to ask a question? Okay. While we wait for that, let me, Reverend, are you still there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Let me also chip this in. How? Because I'd just like to latch on to the question the young man asked over there. It's a bit dicey sometimes when you're trying to when you want to get leadership to buy into what you're doing. Don't we think that it might actually discourage some of the young people, and they will eventually leave because sometimes they don't have the kind of patience and the tenacity to pursue this change agenda, and so eventually what they have to do is they move to a ministry where their ideas can be accepted.
Yes.
So what do you say to that?
It's a very tough issue. One can easily be discouraged in a system that is not shifting at all, that is not making provision for innovation. It could be very discouraging. And a lot of young people have left Orthodox churches for the same reason. But I would say that if you believe that you are an agent of change without creating crisis, you will just need to be patient. If you believe that God has called you to lead change in that particular community, in that particular church, patience is what you need, and prayer. You need to be patient. You need to continue to pray that God will open the eye of the leaders to see what you are saying. So be patient, keep doing what you are doing, keep using every opportunity you have to tell them on the need for change, create, make opportunity to present things in a way that they will understand and they will be able to reason along with you. Over time, they will shift. If you believe that is where God wants you to be, you just have to be patient and you have to be prayerful. In the process of time, you will be able to achieve what you are trying to drive as a change.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just read some. There's some comment.
Okay.
Those are comments from YouTube. Let me just ask some. Somebody said an average person would and should be able to afford a transistor radio. When technology is mentioned, it shouldn't limit to smartphone. Churches can also transmit programs via radio.
Yes.
Let me also so that you just respond to them in one block. How do people get that data to hook up and the various devices? Then, okay, that is Akinkunle Akiode. Somebody also said, Abiodun Sholanke said, okay, that was when said an average person would and will be able to afford a transistor radio when technology is mentioned. And also, Fakayode Emmanuel said, wow. Olatunji Oluwafisayo, necessary birth invention. To not extinct, you keep faith as survival and relevance is for the feet. Well done, sir. These are coming from for YouTube. And somebody said interesting. So I guess can you just respond to that? So some people can transmit radio via radio. Is that also possible?
All right. Yeah, just like I said before, I've emphasized the issue of creating multiple channels. Yes, and the person that mentioned transistor radio is just on point. It's just on point. That is also one of the channels that the church can adopt in reaching people. So the point is that we need to create multiple channels to be able to reach our people, including engaging radio stations. It will cost us some money, but it is something that we need to do if we will be able to reach people and advance the work of the gospel. That's very important. Now, when it comes to the issue of data, well, someone may say that churches should provide data for people, give their members money to buy data and all of that. Well, that may be okay as a temporary thing, but it's not sustainable. And because it's not sustainable, it is not a route I would say the church should go. There may, if we're able to think of how that will be a sustainable approach, maybe. But the real issue is that people will always invest in things that is important to them. So if connecting to church is important to people, they will make resources available to be able to do it. Now, using multiple channels also provides that opportunity because YouTube, for instance, consumes more data than Facebook and some other platforms. So it's important that we're able to create that opportunities for people to connect. But more importantly is the fact that we need a mind shift, that things will no longer be the same. And if we want to continue to be relevant in every sense, we must be able to shift in our mind and be able to move in the direction of things that will give us value as individuals. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Okunlola. We've come to the end of GreaterWorks' second installment today, and we talked extensively on how to drive change in the church, which is actually like an imperative, not just an imperative for the church. It's technically, in other words, the church must embrace technology, must be proactive about it. We must invest, significantly in driving change within the church, and also reach the millennial, which is a very critical target audience, and also have multiple channel of reaching our members, those who we can reach via channel via WhatsApp, via YouTube, via social media, even radio, transistor radio. And so we'd like to thank you very much for your thought and your time you have shared on GreaterWorks. And to our viewers all over the world, we thank you for your time. We look forward to you engaging and also meeting with us same time next week on the same platform, 10 a.m. Thank you very much, sir, Reverend Tayo Okunlola.
Thank you very much for having me. God bless you.
Amen, sir. Bye-bye, sir.